So I thought I'd shoot a quick video of my XL-65 that I picked up about 2 weeks ago. Story about this airplane. This was built in Wisconsin by Greg Klemp at Shear Technologies, purchased by a gentleman in Washington who landed it hard on the nose wheel and collapsed the nose wheel. So it does need some repairs. I picked this up in Moses Lake, Washington at Jackson Flight Center, which is a Challenger dealer. The gentleman I bought it from had every intention to fix it up, but he was elected to public office over there and just decided he wouldn't have time to do it. So I'll just do a quick walkthrough so you guys can kind of see. It's very, very tight in my garage right now with my wood shop, which is a disaster, and the plane in here. It barely fits in here. But anyways, I'll just take you on a quick walk around. So it is an XL-65, so it's got the larger tail. I have the elevator and the horizontal stabilizer removed right now for transport. There's your trim tab. That's going to be switched over to aluminum. Definitely don't want a plexiglass trim tab. It's currently in what I would call a John Deere green. I wasn't crazy about the paint scheme. I think some of you have seen photos that I posted of it when it was completed and assembled, but it has grown on me. And I think I'm going to keep most of the green. We'll see. Anyways, has wheel pants. The front wheel pant was destroyed in the accident. These rear wheel pants have never been installed. They're brand new. They've never been hooked up to the plane. There's your fairings for the landing gear. I have the landing gear just barely hanging on right now, enough to move it around. It's really not screwed on though. Here are the wings. And if you don't have a Challenger, or you've never been around a Challenger that's disassembled, it's really difficult to appreciate just how big these wings are. They're pretty massive. They're about 5.5 feet tall, including the ailerons, and they're quite long. Here's part of the gap cover, the rear section of the gap cover. This plane has a BRS parachute now, and I'll get into that in just a few minutes here. This has not been cut to accommodate for that BRS parachute. Got a brand new nose cone for it. I'll comment on the nose cone also. This plane was built a little bit differently as far as the nose cone is concerned. We'll get to that though. So there's Rotax 582. This plane has less than 12 hours. The Hobbs meter is at 11.8 hours. This accident happened very early on in the aircraft's life. Of course, it has 3-blade ground adjustable warp drive. I'm not entirely sure what that is set at yet. I'm waiting for the tool to see just how many degrees that's set at. So we'll figure that out later. The radiator package is also from Greg Klemp and Shear Technologies. I think he's the only one making these. I'm not entirely sure. So you've got your louvers that you could adjust in the cockpit, keep your temperature control and things like that when you're operating it. I do not have the lower winter cover like some other people do. I just started going through this plane and trying to figure out what I have and what I need. I think everything's here to repair it, but then I got a call last Thursday from the guy I bought it from, said he found another box of parts that he was going to mail to me, and I suspect that has everything else I need to repair because I am missing a few things. But yeah, going back to the Rotax here, basically a brand new motor, electric start, of course. One of the things that I really like about this, and I'm going to try to get some better pictures for you guys, these are the controls for the throttle, the oil injection, and then the choke. This is a custom-made bracket that attaches to this solid panel. The Challenger normally will have fabric here, but a lot of people are putting solid panels. So this one does have a solid panel. I just have it clecoed in place. But this little bracket, those cables and stuff are normally just wire tied to the airframe somewhere in the fuselage. Well, it's nice to have them out here so you can inspect them, but what he did with this custom bracket is really cool. They fit in there perfect. They're secure. I just have them temporarily wire tied so they're out of the way. I'll try to get you some more pictures of that when I tear this engine out, and maybe get you some specifications so if you wanted to add something like that on your plane, you could. Now, one of the things about this plane that really stands out is the craftsmanship with the fabric covering and the paint. I do not think I have ever seen any aircraft covered as beautifully and painted as beautifully as this one is. I know it's hard to imagine with the fuselage being stripped, and the video won't capture it, but this is just remarkable workmanship. Paint is perfect. It's a metallic green. It's just beautiful. The wings are in excellent shape. There's nothing wrong with those. It does have the Horner style fiberglass wingtips. It also has directional and strobe lights. The wing behind this, it's the right wing, does have a little bit of hanger rash. These were in a wing cradle, so I have to repaint part of the wingtip and fix that up. The horizontal stabilizer and the elevator are painted pure white, so that's kind of nice. I have an open canvas to work with if I want to add some colors of my own. There are parts of the doors here. I'll get to that in just a minute because those are a little bit different than what you typically see on a Challenger. Does have the Matco hydraulic brakes. Those need to be rebled and stuff like that. In fact, I don't even have the discs hooked up right now. Just put the wheels on to get it in and out of a trailer and into my garage. Wing struts are underneath. I'm missing the right-hand forward wing strut that was damaged. The other three are there. They're in great shape. Of course, this is an XL-65, so it does not have a fuel tank back here. So you've got your nice storage area. There's an ELT in there. Fuel pump. Gascolator. I'm probably going to replace the seat belts and shoulder harnesses with something a little more aviation friendly. I think these are just stock from the factory. They're fine, but I'd just rather have a quick release aviation style. There's your wing tanks. They built inspection ports for the wing tanks. They have covers for these, aluminum covers. So there's a fuel shut off, and you can get to your fuel lines in there, which is nice. So it's easy to replace those fuel lines and shut off the fuel if you need. I'm going to try to flip the wing here a little bit for you. I know it's dark, but there are the fuel caps for the wing tanks, 10 gallons each. There's also sending units for the fuel level with an inspection port on each wing. The one thing I don't like about the paint job on this is this red. I think that just ruins it, so I want to get rid of that. I don't mind the green and the white, but I want to get rid of that red. So there's the rear seat. Another thing that was a little bit different is the throttle quadrants were mounted on this top rail instead of being mounted inside. I don't really like that. I think your hand sits up too high. It just seems labored, so I'll move those down so they're mounted over here. The same is true about the front. This is not attached at all. If you've seen pictures of this plane when it's fully assembled, you'll notice that the nose cone was cut quite differently than Challengers typically are. So it was cut straight down and straight over, and the throttle quadrant was up here. Well, I don't like that. I've already pulled most of this out, and since I have the new nose cone, I'm going to make it my own. If you've ever watched Tom McClatchy's videos on his XL-65, I'm going to try to kind of replicate what he's doing, where he's got the kind of curved panel coming down, and rework that. It's nice I have a new nose cone to work with, so I can do with it what I want. Something very odd about this plane is the heater core is mounted up here in the nose cone. I do not like that at all. There's a number of reasons. This is a lot of weight. The battery was mounted underneath the seat here. I removed that. I'm about 6 feet tall, but I'm a tall drink of water. I don't weigh very much. So for weight and balance, I'm going to need some weight up here. So the battery's probably going to have to go up here. But there's your heater core, full of coolant. And take a look at those coolant lines. Go all the way to the back of the plane and to the engine. That's probably about 24 feet of coolant lines. They're heavy-duty lines. They're full of coolant. That's a lot of weight. It is just a ton of weight. And then you also have all those coolant lines could spring up a leak at any time when you're flying and just douse you with scalding hot coolant. And I don't want that. So the first thing I'm going to do is get that heater core out of there. I think they did it because this guy intended on flying alone most of the time. And they thought, well, have the heat come right out of the nose cone and you'll be nice and toasty. But it'll be fine. Mounted back there with some scat tubing mounted to the cockpit. That's got to go. Just too much weight up there. Too many things to go wrong. I'm going to try to weigh these tubes full of liquid as well and just give you an idea of how much weight I'm cutting down by moving that. Really tight in here, so you'll have to excuse me. So the nose gear had collapsed. I do have a new nose fork on there. I just have these attached to the rudder pedals. They're not adjusted, they're not tight or anything like that. I just wanted, these rudder pedals will not sit up by themselves, and I didn't like the rudder just moving around by itself. So those are in there temporarily. And again, there's these extra supports. I think I'm just going to leave them there. It's kind of nice to be able to put a lot of weight on there. They're not adding much weight to the plane, and they're good attach points for the fabric. So I don't have a problem with that. Down here is where most of the repairs need to be made. You can see that these have been replaced. They're clecoed in place. And then you've got your tube here. So there's some stringers and stuff that go back and forth I need to order. Again, there's the nose wheel. I do have a new nose wheel, brand new. I haven't put it on yet. It's probably one of the first things I do now that I have my build manuals from the factory. I've got the gap cover just kind of attached. I was playing around with the doors and put the doors back on just to see what it would look like. So I just have it just kind of loosely sitting up there just for a reference point. After this accident, the owner decided he wanted to add a BRS parachute. So that is a brand new 1,050 pound gross weight BRS parachute. It's still good for 6 years before it needs a repack. Without disclosing what I paid for the plane, that makes it worthwhile right there. I could sell that and get a lot of money back, but I'm getting older. I have a kid, a mortgage, a wife, people who depend on me. So for peace of mind, I'll keep it on there. It's already there. Why mess with a good thing? So here's the other side of the fuselage with the solid panel removed. I like that this is being done now because there are a lot of different things that you need to work on in there. And I can't imagine doing it with having this fabric and having to work behind the seat. It just doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So it's nice to have the solid panels here that are removable. You can access all the controls, the fuel lines, fuel pump, stuff like that, which I really like. It has a chrome exhaust, which is excellent. You folks know that these exhausts will rust. Within a week or two of buying them, they rust, but this one's chrome. It should hold up for a long time. Now going back to the green theme, the instrument panel has been removed. Some of you may have seen pictures of this too. It's also green. So they had planned on adding an iPad, so I do have a whole nother instrument panel here with the plan that they had to put the instruments in. And I have all the instruments, RPM, EGT, airspeed altimeter, vertical speed, everything. There's the ignition key. So it's all here. And again, 11.8 hours on this plane, so it is essentially brand new. I'm going to do my own thing with the panel. I'll keep it mostly steam gauges. I don't know, I might look around for an engine monitoring system. Everything's there that I need. I'm definitely not going to do a green panel, though. There's just too much green on this plane. So let's talk about the paint job and the repairs needed. There really isn't a lot to repair on this. The fabric has been cut off of the front fuselage right about here to inspect for damage. Everything is good, and they do have all the parts. You know, I have everything here I need to fix the fuselage itself. I could put a seam in the fabric where it's been cut and just redo the fabric forward of this. But one of the things that I really want to do is I want to clean this up and I want to close off this area here like a lot of people are doing. Tom McClatchy is a good example of that. I want to straighten this out or just have it closed off so the cockpit's a little more closed off from the weather and tidy things up. So I'm going to probably end up removing the fabric from the fuselage and redoing that. I wish I didn't have to, but now that I've seen several Challengers with this area closed off and cleaned up, I almost feel like I have to do it, which is a shame. Plus, if I put a seam in here, I'm not going to have a very fun time trying to blend the paint, so I'll probably pull the rest off the fuselage and just bite the bullet and do it. It is an absolutely beautiful plane. It's beautiful craftsmanship everywhere. I wanted to go back to the doors here. Some of you have seen pictures. Here's the door for the left side of the plane. You can see that the Lexan's been painted. It does look more streamlined with it painted like that, but I don't like it. I think it reduces the visibility of the back passenger, and it's too much. Problem is, there's no way I'm getting that paint off of there. And these doors were designed to fit around the nose cone that he had that was cut out at a 90-degree angle up there. So I'm going to have to redo the doors anyway, since I'm going to customize my nose cone and my panel and stuff like that. So it's not a big deal. I have all the parts here I need to do it. I'll just get some new Lexan and I'll tweak these doors. It does have the third door that swings up over the windshield to make it a little easier to get in and out of. And then he also had a custom system of holding the doors closed. Those were actually some panels that mounted in here that I've removed. And then on this side, I just think it was overkill, so I pulled them out. I've drilled a lot of rivets out of this plane already. So anyways, that's the XL-65. Definitely some work to be done, but everything's here. Just got the build manuals. I think I mentioned that. Just got them yesterday, so I just kind of started going through those, and it already answered a lot of my questions. I have 2 different heavy load saddle kits sitting here, new Roni brackets, PL100s for some of the controls, and a lot of just miscellaneous parts and pieces. It is a complete airplane, though. Plan on getting started this week on really just assessing what I need to do. So that's it. That's my XL-65. I also just purchased the domain name challengerxl65.com, and my intent is to use that not only to document the repairs to this, but also to turn it into kind of an open source Challenger website where people will be able to email me their photos and videos and share their story about their Challengers, their rebuilds, their new builds, things like that, not just for the XL-65, but for all Challenger models. So I'll be working on that in the next week or two, hope to get it live. And you guys are welcome to email me anything you want. We'll get it on the website. I'm going to try to break the site down by different Challenger models, Challenger 1, Clipped Wing Special 2, XL-65, and so forth. So that's the plane. I'm excited about it. It was a real good deal. I had actually posted on barnstormers.com looking for an abandoned kit or maybe a half-built kit, and this gentleman got a hold of me. I drove 8 hours down the road. I'm in Bozeman, Montana, so I drove 8 hours down the road next week, took a look at it, and said I'll take it, and waited a few months, went and picked it up. If there's any questions anybody has, feel free to add a comment, and I'll see if I can get some photos, but there's a lot more info to come. I've got to get these wings out of the garage. I'm too tight in here. I can barely work on it. It is what it is. More videos to come.